Welcome back to Unpacking It. Right now, I am joined by former NBA player. You know him from the Pacers and the Knicks and the Raptors, and he's been an NBA analyst, and we're here. It's NBA All-Star Weekend following the Athletes in Action All-Star Breakfast. Antonio, man, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, man. Thanks for having me. This is definitely an honor to be amongst these men and the guys here who were celebrated, and the legends, the Retired Players Association, AIA. It's an unbelievable event. I've come a couple times, but I don't think I've been as involved in this one as in the past.
Oh, that's great. What was your involvement then?
Well, you know, most of the time I come, I sit in the back, and a lot of time I'm not really paying attention to what's going on. I know people are getting honored and things of that nature, but seeing guys like Allen Houston and knowing what he's done and what he's doing for the game and kind of paving the way, and then making sure that I'm tapped into the Retired Players Association, which is huge.
Yeah.
Athletes in Action has always been one that's been there, but I've recently connected with the Nations of Coaches who are kind of doing something similar, just serving. So it's been unbelievable to not just be here, but to make sure I threw myself in and got to meet people, see what they do, what their mission is, and how they're serving. And it's really helped me to look at serving a different way.
Oh, that's awesome. So today we heard from Bobby Jones and David Thompson and Tony Dungy. Was there a nugget that jumped out to you or something that stuck with you today?
Each one of them, said, and I think the last speaker, I forget who it was, said it best. Paul Westphal said it, and a couple of people alluded to it, to get to the top and not really feel like that's it, and understanding that you almost have to lose yourself in order to gain everything.
That's right.
Was something that I constantly am trying to find different ways to say that, and to hear the men today, David Thompson saying, "Hey, I had everything. I had the most expensive contract in sports. I was an all-star. I was this and I was that, but I had nothing." It's almost going back to Ecclesiastes when it's talked about. I'm just a person who believes that emptiness is always in your heart because there's only one person that can fill it.
Amen.
And as men, we get so enthralled in our sports and the accolades and all the things that we have, and we don't finally become real true men like Coach Dungy and some of the others until we literally, fall on our knees and we've kind of lost something or something has happened to kind of force us to be there. I just want to, throw a message out there to say, don't let that happen. You don't have to lose everything in order to gain it. You just have to make a decision that, hey, I just want to be better. I want to be better than I was yesterday. I want to serve somebody. I want to help somebody. I want to do something that's meaningful to me. And when you do that, things just start happening in your life.
Man, it's Antonio Davis, our guest right now on Unpacking It. And so for you, what is your faith story? When was that turning point for you where you did surrender and say, all right, Lord, you take away?
It's been crazy. I grew up in church. I don't know if I was ever enthralled in it, though.
Yep.
Grandma made me go, so I was there.
Yep.
Went off to school. You do what you do. You lose yourself. You find yourself. But for me, about 4 or 5 years ago, after I retired, went through a bit of depression, went to a therapist. We really hit it off and started talking about some good things. I always was a spiritual man, never knew how I was going to grow that. So I asked him, like, hey, I need to be surrounded by men who I can look up to, who can be great supporters, pouring into me, because I'm open to it. I need it. So he introduced me to this group of professional men, of athletes and all of that. But before you can get in, you had to talk to this pastor. Man, I spent a day with the pastor. By the end of the day, I'm crying. I'm on my knees. I'm thanking God that, man, he brought me to a man that made me see things in a totally different way. And that day in his office, I gave my life to Christ.
Oh, man.
3 months later, I was rebaptized. And things have been phenomenal. I've had my wars still, but I'm relying on this new faith that I have, these new people that I have in my life. I've had to get rid of some people in my life.
Yeah.
So all that kind of has happened over the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm just so thankful and so grateful.
Antonio Davis with us on Unpacking It. And so what are some of those ways in your life that you've seen change and just how God's worked in you? What does that look like?
You know, I think that I was always a person, when I got into the NBA, I had some things happen, and I tried to figure out, business-wise, I started getting into the Players Association. Then I started realizing that so many guys didn't understand the business of basketball. So I started getting, as being a team representative. I was I was president of the association.
Wow.
And all of that. And so I say all that to say that, in working for ESPN, there was something that was missing. And then I went back and started working for the Players Association, and it was all around serving. And I've never been as fulfilled as I am now, creating ways for guys to transition out of the game of basketball, understanding that really it's ministry.
Yeah.
Really it's making sure I grab their hearts and say, hey, listen, you're going to end up spending your money. You're going to end up doing some of these other things. But if you don't get control of your heart and put it in the right direction, put it in the right place, although you're not going to have control over all those other things. So that's been really huge for me, serving my peers, serving guys that I played with, serving guys I played against has been huge. But the other thing is just really being a father. I got a son now who's, 24 years old. He's playing overseas in Australia.
It's awesome.
I didn't have my dad. So just to be there, talking to him on a daily basis about things that men do and why they do it and decisions we make and shouldn't make and all that kind of stuff.
Gosh.
It's been huge. And that is kind of what I do on a daily basis, and it's so fulfilling.
I love it. Antonio Davis, former NBA player, with us right now on Unpacking It. And your son is playing overseas in Australia. What's his game like? Because we know when you played, you were tough and were an enforcer in the paint. And so what's his game like compared to yours?
You know what? It was funny. I knew from day one that he wasn't going to be this physical, kid get thrown around. He just didn't come from that. So he is a 6'8", 6'9", real thin, can guard several positions kind of kid. Almost like a Derek McKee. I don't know if you remember.
I remember McKee. Yeah.
Almost like a Derek McKee.
Kind of a one-of-a-kind player.
One-of-a-kind. He can do so many different things. I'm just trying to get him to understand that you have to get great at something in order to get in. And then once you get in, then you can kind of expand around what you're great at. Yeah. So he's trying to figure out, well, how do I become that kind of Andre Roberson who can guard several positions out on the floor, knock down an open corner three, rebound the ball and run the floor and things like that. And like I told him, none of it really matters at the end of the day. You have to be the best you can be every day. Show up, get better, be great, and have a great heart. And everything else will take care of itself.
That's great. So what about as an analyst? Where are you at right now, and what's kind of your involvement in the NBA from that perspective?
I don't do a lot of that anymore. I'm often being called to do some interviews and things of that nature. The hard part for me is it's hard for me to analyze a guy on a missed shot or something he did or didn't do when I know how that feels. They have all these debates now about this guy being great or that guy being great or Kevin Durant said, hey, we just want to play ball, all this difference. And I get it.
Yeah.
So it's so hard for me to have an opinion on it when I understand it. And they don't want to hear that you understand. They want to hear controversy. That's right. I don't have any controversy because I get, these are my guys. You go through this and obviously you make, people don't understand all of the other stuff. It's like you hear about guys retiring, they lost all their money and blah, blah, blah. And now they want to talk about financial literacy. Listen, let's go back to Kevin Durant and his mom having that moment. And then what if he wasn't a Kevin Durant who didn't make all that money but still felt like Kevin Durant? I want to buy my mom a house.
That's right.
I want to make sure she's taking care of the rest of her life. He may go broke doing that. So you can't say that he just, didn't know how to spend money. He was loose with it. Those are not the stories. I am working really hard now to start getting guys to telling their stories, because everybody just see the end, whether he lost money or he did this or he did that, but they don't know what he was going through in the background to get him to that place. And then some of them have created a new S-curve, and they're they have thriving businesses, or they're working in the community. We don't hear that, though.
No.
We don't hear all the good stuff that they've done.
That's right.
So I'm working to try to get some of those stories out.
Oh, that's cool. We love that here on Unpacking It, sharing some of those stories for sure. And so it's NBA All-Star Weekend. What was that like for you throughout your career, and what do you make of kind of some of the festivities so far?
It was so funny. I heard Allen Houston up there talking about getting that call, going to the dunk contest and all of that. I was there, actually. They did the same thing to me. I got this call my rookie year, saying, hey, you want to be in the dunk contest? I'm like, nah, not really, but if you need me to, I'll do it. So I went. It was the first year they had, like, the rookie game. I was in Minnesota. It was cold, but I took my mom and my aunt. We had a great time. And I just remember feeling like just so special in the moment to be chosen as one of those guys. And so now, and then 2001, I was actually an All-Star, got a nod to play. But
that was with the Pacers?
I was actually with the Raptors.
Oh, the Raptors.
I was with the Raptors, yeah. And it's so, the one thing I wish I would have done was just slow down and take it all in. Like, everything happened so fast. You got up in the morning, there was media, there was practice, you came back, you took a nap, you did this, there was the game, all this other stuff. But anytime I come here now, I just try to slow down. I try to meet people. I try to connect with people. Well, how you doing? What you doing now? Where you been? And that to me seems more fulfilling than anything, than just coming to see the festivities and be a part of that part.
It's the relationships.
It's the relationships, man. I'm finding out that that's more important than anything.
When someone says, okay, here's Antonio Davis, former NBA player, what does that mean to you?
I take a lot of pride in it. You know what I mean? It's at that time, the 12 years I played, I was one of the best, kind of 450 guys in the world playing the sport for a long period of time. There's not many guys who have done it. I have a respect for any guy that has gotten there. I have even more respect for guys who are in college and that was their dream. It didn't happen. They went on to do something else. Those are the guys that really make up our communities now. Our teachers, our first responders, our this and that. Those are the guys that are really important, So I'm trying to figure out, how can I connect with them. But it's just a sense of pride. You try not to take too much stock in it. It was what I did and not who I was. It took a long time for me to learn that.
I hear you.
So many times we get caught up in, because once it's gone, then who am I? So struggling with that. I struggled with that in the beginning, but once I kind of found that it was more important for me to give my life to my higher power and do something else, it was just so much better.
Amen. That's what it's all about. Well, Antonio, man, great to meet you. So
good to meet you.
So
too.
Awesome to have you here on Unpacking It, and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Yes. Got
Soak
a few
it in.
things. Yes, got a few things going on. God bless, and I wish you guys all the best.
Awesome. Thanks so much. He's Antonio Davis joining us here.